Okay, we all set? All right, welcome everybody to the meeting of the Human Resources Insurance Committee. Thanks very much for coming. Therese, do we have attendance taken?
We do.
Okay, the minutes of the May 25th meeting, do we have a motion to approve them?
I'll make that motion.
Do we have a second? Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. The next item on the agenda is employee recognition, and this comes from District Attorney Karen Hagan, and so I'd like to read it. I would like to recognize the efforts of my office surrounding the prosecution and conviction of Georgios Kakavelos for murder in the first degree, along with 10 other felonies, following a 6-week-plus trial that concluded with the jury delivering their verdict to the Saratoga County Judge James A. Murphy III this past Thursday afternoon. Prosecution was led by First Assistant District Attorney Alan Poremba, with the support of Assistant District Attorneys Joseph Ferrandino and Johnny Destino, DA Investigator Michael Wells. This case involved the brutal murder of Elizabeth Lamont in the city of Johnstown, County of Fulton, in October 2019, by a coworker and her employer, Kakavelos, in retaliation for her criticism of his unfair labor practices at his deli in Johnstown. The case was prosecuted in Saratoga County as defendants Georgios Kakavelos and James Duffy disposed of the victim Lamont's remains in the vicinity of exit 13 on the ramp of I-87 in the town of Malta. New York state law provides for prosecution of such a homicide in the jurisdiction where the remains of the victim are located. First Assistant DA Poremba presented a thorough, cohesive, understandable case to the Saratoga County jury, using over 650 items of evidence and calling more than 65 witnesses. The evidence included numerous video recordings from businesses and other locations in Johnstown, as well as along the various routes of travel between Fulton and Saratoga counties the defendant traveled before and after the murder. The video and other physical evidence corroborated the chilling testimony of Kakavelos' co-defendant, James Duffy, who testified as a prosecution witness as part of his guilty plea agreement to murder in the second degree, for his involvement in the death of Ms. Lamont. ADAs Ferrandino and Destino provided valuable support before and during the trial. So the trial was and worked behind the scenes. Investigator Wells worked behind the scenes to contact, organize, and gather the witnesses throughout the proceedings, so the trial was able to continue daily without gaps or interruptions. I'd also like to commend the other members of my staff who stepped up to handle, cover, and continue with the cases of the attorneys and investigator involved with this trial, while keeping up with all other responsibilities. This was truly a team effort. And sincere thanks to Karen and her team for this prosecution to bring to justice these two wicked and evil men. And I think one of the mistakes they made was to place Ms. Lamont's body in Saratoga County, where the prosecution would be handled by your tremendous team. So thank you very much, Karen, and your team.
And Supervisor O'Connor, thank you very much for that recognition. I felt it was so important that I did bring the 4 gentlemen with me today who prosecuted that case. My first assistant, Al Poremba, Joe Frandino, and Johnny Destino, as well as investigator Michael Wells. Thank you for all your support. And we promised we weren't going to stay the whole time.
All right. Thanks very much. Okay, the next item on the agenda, Marcy, is the workers' comp report. What do we got there?
Okay, there were 19 new claims this month, 2 large payouts. One was to the Saratoga County Sheriff for a left hand loss of use, and the other large amount was from the City of Saratoga Springs Fire Department quarterly reimbursements. We are at 32% of our budget at $208,000 of a budget of $4.8 million. The utilization is off on this report. There was only 2 that did not call or use the utilization line, and that was that Half Moon, which was brought by an ambulance, so that really doesn't even count as one. And then also one was a correction officer with COVID. So we're seeing some of those late with the COVID showing up. So really the utilization was excellent this month.
Okay, sounds good. Any questions for Marcy? All righty, thank you very much, Marcy.
Okay, and this is my last HR meeting, and I just wanted to thank the HR staff. They've been so hardworking and supportive, and coming into work every day knowing that I had such a wonderful team that would make me laugh made it easier. And I can't thank the HR staff enough. And I know the hard work that it takes to put the agenda together. So for all my HR staff listening, I thank you.
Thanks very much to Marcy and the HR staff. Thank you very much. Okay, next on the agenda is aging services, and I think Sandy. We have Sandy. Sandy. Is she here? Oh, okay. Steve, are you taking this?
No, I can do it. I'm sorry. I have Judy here too. My over knowledge of, personnel sometimes is not as good as Judy DeHota Taylor's, who came from the HR department.
Well,
But-
my understanding is this going to be all covered by New York Connects, and that's a repeating annual
Yes,
grant, right?
exactly.
Okay.
So,
yeah,
I can go on if you want me to, Supervisor. Okay.
Well, I think if anybody has any questions on this, other than what's in the reports. Joe, did you have a
Yeah,
question?
Mr. Chairman, if I could
Go
just ask Sandy, just in terms of the New York Connects, it's not a program I'm familiar with. The duration of that program, is there a,
It's never ending.
okay.
Yep,
So
it
that's
started,
participation.
for everybody's benefit, though, it is something the county does. It started in 2006. It's in every county in New York State. Most of them, I'd say 95% are housed in Office for Aging. It's an information and referral line that is staffed by the caseworker staff to answer any question anybody in the community has birth to death regarding the long-term care system. Any question, home care, anything. So we staff that every single day.
Okay, great. So a follow-up question. In terms of the change in the titles, is that something that's predicated because of the New York Connects program, or would these have been?
I think
done
it's been a long time coming.
Okay.
That, because in a lot of counties, caseworkers through DSX actually partner with OFA to do it. So everybody's a little different. That's the beauty of Offices for Aging in the state. They do allow a little bit of leeway how we're set up.
Okay, because the level of increases, there's a lot of disparity from one individual to
Yep.
the next, up to 30%.
Yep. Well, I know you got the salaries of the individuals.
Yep.
The only reason there's an increase is because they're different tenured employees. Some of them have been here 20 years and some of them have been here 2 years. So their steps in the raises over the course of the years makes it different. But the starting salary for anybody coming in new is the same.
Okay, great.
All right, any other questions for Sandy? Okay, do we have a motion to
Thank
adopt the
you.
resolution authorizing the change to the 2021 compensation schedule for aging services? Discussion. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Okay, next item on the agenda is public health. And we have a reclassification of the Director of Patient Services title. Dr. Kuhls.
Yes, good afternoon. So this request is to retitle the Director of Patient Services to the Director of Community Health Services. The grade and salary would stay the same. And this really reflects the evolution of of our department here from what was more of a home care nursing service to our current construct, where we're a partial service health department, and where we're headed, which is to a full service health department. Many of the responsibilities that the Director of Patient Services held, Kathy Medic, when I was hired and came on board as the commissioner, the physician becomes responsible for the clinical care, and the full service health department really achieves its goals for maintaining the health and safety of the community and the population through partnerships. So it's kind of reflects the difference from that one-to-one patient care, if you will, to the broader health of the community. It'll also, reflects kind of a different background. in training somebody with a master's of public health and progressive experience in, working with community-based organizations, grant procurements, things of that nature.
Got it. Thanks, Dr. Kuhls. Any questions for Dr. Kuhls? Okay, do we have a motion to amend to approve the resolution amending the compensation schedule for health? Moved and seconded. Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Doctor. Okay, Drew, I think we have a proposal for a certain amount of reorganization of finance and payroll. And thank you for your June 24th very thorough letter.
Thank you for calling it thorough and not long-winded. All right, this is what I get for using the microphone after Karen. That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Committee. Drew Jarash, County Treasurer. The proposal that we are speaking about right now is a reorganization of finance and payroll back under the Treasurer's Office. I did write a letter with a bunch of supporting documentation citing quite a bit of state law explaining the rationale for this. There's both a logistical rationale as well as a legal rationale. I would argue mostly, though, this is a practical matter for transparency and accountability. Number one, in our form of county government, the treasurer is the chief fiscal officer of the county. As chief fiscal officer, my signature is required on numerous documents and numerous reporting to the state, to the federal government for grants and audits. The list would go on and I could bore you with that. But in order to do that, the accounting authority and the accounting oversight resides in the chief fiscal officer's office. And in fact, the entire office of the state controller is structured and operates around the preposition that the chief fiscal officer handles the county's fiscal matters. And so since this change was made 4 years ago of taking the director of finance out of my office, it has caused some confusion in some cases with the state controller's office. We've kind of gotten around those things simply because, and I want to make sure and emphasize this, we have had such a good director of finance in that position in Brian O'Connor. Him and I and my entire staff have worked excellent together for these last several years. And on that note, I actually want to wish Brian well. He is resigning. Today is his last day. If you get a chance, make sure and say congratulations to him. He is moving on to bigger and better things, and we congratulate him and wish him well. He has been excellent in this position for the last several years. Like I've said, I've worked very well with him. We understood the dynamics of the situation, and we just kind of made it work. There's no other better way to say it. We kind of muddled through and we made it work, and we've gotten quite a bit done together in that time. But now that that position is vacant, it's a perfect opportune moment for us to revert back to the way the treasurer's office, which was originally designed when the director of finance position was created back in the late 80s. The whole point was to create continuity and consistency with an accounting expertise in the treasurer's office who would specifically handle those accounting duties that I have to sign off on and report to the state. And then also, obviously, there are a dozen other tasks and functions that the treasurer's office is responsible for that I don't want the director of finance to be associated with. For instance, banking. You don't want the accounting person to also be doing the banking. So the banking would be handled over here, the accounting handled over here. And I have a very well thought out organizational chart for my office, which is what was also, I think, included in there. If not, I can provide it to you. And this is a move that will improve efficiency and transparency, and frankly, it just adheres most correctly to our form of federal government and local government, even at the local government level. If you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to elaborate.
Thanks very much, Drew. Any questions? Go ahead, Joe.
So yes, Mr. Chairman, Drew, great job with the presentation of the material. You made a very complex issue, very easy to understand. No budget impact on this because this is just a move of the.
This is just a move, correct. This is a move in the organizational chart. And so the regular wage budgets that were in county administrator and HR will be moved over to my department to cover the remainder of the year's salaries.
Any issue from a space allocation from one department to the other?
Number one, I'm making it work. Number two, this is actually a good point. And it's a point I made very clearly in there. The payroll function by right is a hybrid function of treasury and HR. And there's pros and cons to having it in both places, to either place. As I've presented, I think there's a better argument to be made, much better argument that it does belong in the treasurer's office. However, I would say that on the org chart for responsibility and accountability, on a logistical day-to-day basis, 90% of the questions that the payroll staff needs to answer in a payroll week, they can, by being located in payroll right now in the payroll office, they can yell across the hall to the person who has the answer, right? Hey, how much should that person have been paid? Hey, did that person earn overtime this week? What's the rule on this? And so that's what those are the answers to the questions that payroll needs in order to calculate payroll correctly at the end of a pay cycle. 90% of those questions, if they were downstairs with me, they would just be calling upstairs, right, to get those questions answered. That's number one. Number two, I think from an employee's point of view, it makes the most sense to keep payroll located where they are so they have one door to go through, one sheet to sign in on, to ask about their paycheck over here, to ask about their benefits over here, to ask about their W-9 over here. They have one-stop shop for all of their employee needs. So if it's okay with the current director of HR and maybe the incoming director of HR, if payroll can stay where it is physically located, I think that's what's best from a operational point of view and for the employees.
All set.
Okay, good. Thanks, Drew. Any other questions? All right.
Thank you.
Do we have a motion to amend the 2021 compensation schedule for the purposes of the treasurer's reorganization? Discussion. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. All right. Mike, the next item on the agenda is the reclassification of the paralegal specialist.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Michael Hartnett here, County Attorney. As provided in the documentation, this is another request of opportunity that was created by a transition of a paralegal specialist within our office to the clerk of the board. And that has resulted in the paralegal specialist position that was previously assigned to the Department of Social Services to move over to Building 1. So the paralegal specialist position in the Department of Social Services is currently vacant. And this request is to convert that paralegal specialist position to a assistant county attorney. As noted in the statistical analysis, the number of filings through in family court related to Article 10 and its progeny have increased over the years. Back in 2011, there was 127 petitions filed. In 2018 and 2019, there was 306. So it's steadily gone up, and that number is correlated to the increase in child protective reports that have been received over the same time frame. And this request, we're at a little bit of a critical mass. The two attorneys that have been stationed over there, and it's changed over time, who's been there, have been running lean and mean for a long time with two attorneys with that volume of caseload, critically important caseload, very vulnerable population of our county. And it's come to a bit of a critical mass where a third attorney, I think, is very important to balance that caseload and make it workable so those cases don't fall through the cracks, so to speak. And the other perspective is on the public defender side and the defense side to these Article 10 abuse and neglect cases, the litigation rate is going way up. There's a lot more motions, there's a lot more discovery demands, a lot more trials than we used to see on these cases. And that's being driven by indigent legal services and a request for more thorough representation on the defense side, but that's resulting in more time, more effort, more work for everybody with that litigation. And then I'll close with the best part, which is the funding perspective. The work that is done by the assistant county attorneys or county attorney's office related to DSS work that is what's called Title 4E and Title 4D related is 92% reimbursable by the federal government. So the cost of the upgrade for this year is $3,146, which is included in the 2021 budget already. And going forward, the local share cost is about $8,000 a year. And with the cost of legal fees, that's a bit of a bargain. So that's one of the, I think I guess I'll call it selling points of this request, if you will. So that's, I'm happy to answer any questions related to that. But this is being made outside of the budget process for the reason that the paralegal specialist position in DSS is currently vacant. So it's an opportune time to make the request. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Mike. Anybody have any questions? Okay, do we have a motion to amend the 2021 compensation schedule? Do we have a second? Discussion. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the contract expansion with Tyler Technology. And this was on the tech committee's agenda, right? And so was the resolution presented to them, or do we do the resolution, or both, or how does this work? Okay. Okay, does anyone have any questions on this for Drew? Drew, do you have anything that you wanted to add to what we have before us?
Okay, so real quick, again, Drew Jarash, County Treasurer. This is an expansion of our contract with Tyler. Back when we contracted with Tyler originally to upgrade our finance and accounting software system, we knew that this add-on was available. There was originally discussion on doing it at the time, at launch, and just including it at the time. It has come up as an opportune moment to do this now mid-year, and I'll explain that in just a second. So the module is an employee self-service module. So it would allow all county employees and supervisors to log into a website to view your pay stubs, to view your W-2 information, update your W-9 information. You can see your benefits. You'll be able to see your accruals time. Quite a bit of self-service capability. Number one, this will reduce the amount of paper that payroll produces. So even on direct deposits, they print pay stubs every 2 weeks, thousands of pieces of paper, and have to physically get them to the individual departments to be handed out. Not only is that a logistical challenge, but it's also a security issue because you have all of these pieces of paper with people's deductions and bank information on them traveling physically across the county, oftentimes in the hands of account clerks that have come over from that department to take them back with them. If they trip and fell in the parking lot and they blew all over, right? So it's a security issue, number one. Number two, it's obviously convenient for the employees. We get phone calls almost every year, almost every February going, hey, I lost my W-2. Can you give me another one? So, they can get online and print it themselves. Again, all employees, all supervisors will have the ability to log in and produce this. The reason we're doing it as a mid-year request is because IT Director Bennett informed me that along with the upgrade to the data center that they're currently undertaking, approved by the board a couple of months ago, she says it now is a perfect time to put the new machines in there rather than do the data center upgrade now and then try to figure out how to install these machines later. If we're going to install a bunch of new machines, let's just do it now. So per her advice, I'm suggesting that we move forward with this now.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. I mean, the more we can do, electronically rather than on paper, especially with payments and everything, is terrific. And people who are as old as me know that even Social Security has the online capability with a lot of this stuff. So I think it's a great idea. Any questions for Drew? Okay, yeah, so the other committee has taken care of this. It'll get to Law and Finance, so we don't need to make a motion. All righty. Any other business? Okay, do we have a motion to adjourn? Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thanks very much, everybody.